What's up, everyone? As you can see, it's kind of late, and I'm probably going against my better judgment here. But let me know by the likes and comments down below if you enjoy this kind of content. But basically, our boy Tyrion Lannister, aka Peter Dinklage in the real world, as he puts it, has been like making headlines. Like literally, I just typed in Peter Dinklage in Google, and as you can see right now, there's like 5 headlines from just a few hours ago. There's a few of them worth addressing, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. So please, before I jump into any of that, do me a favor and slap a like or a dislike on this video if you enjoy this kind of content. Long night. Okay, now to be fair, I've actually met someone who worked with Peter Dinklage, right, on Game of Thrones. You all know her as Shay, right? I got to interview her. I was a nervous little boy during this interview. But anyway, she told me that he's a really cool dude. She said he's always really in the scene, and that's really, good to hear as an actor. But then I randomly, across the terrible YouTube recommendation feed, one day it recommended me this really inspirational video. It's on a Motivational Hub or something. But basically Tyrion is talking about, or Peter Dinklage is talking about his journey throughout his life, and he's given this speech to this college, and it's just go watch it. Whatever I would say about it wouldn't do it justice. It's insanely motivational. But leading into that, what he's talking about with the, dwarf Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs thing, like people were joking and saying he didn't get the role and that's why he's mad about it. I think the main thing to take away from that headline is that he thinks it's kind of hypocritical that they're doing, it's a good thing they're doing a Latino Snow White, but he thinks it's hypocritical of them to still do a movie where dwarves are being like kind of like made fun of, right? They live in a cave or whatever. They're very much lower tier in that fantasy society. In all actuality, dwarves in fantasy, Lord of the Rings in particular, are like on equal footing with elves and hobbits and wizards, right? Like each race has their own strength. But for Snow White, it's different. I don't know, it's a fantasy kid story. But his whole point was that it's kind of ironic, right? I understand that. There was another headline. This one is basically, he's talking about HBO, right? He's on a podcast with Mark Maron. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. If you want to know the ones in particular, there's too many to list. One of my new favorites is Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. I subscribed to them a couple months ago, but also Your Mom's House, and then obviously, a few others. Just go look at who I'm following on Twitter to see, or I guess I could show you right here. But I don't listen to Mark Maron in particular, but there's a clip that I listened to on YouTube, and basically he's saying, for not verbatim, but they took a risk when they first made, HBO took a risk when they first made Game of Thrones because there had never been anything like it. He also goes on to say that they took a risk when they made this other show called Succession. I've never seen it. I don't really know what it's about, but apparently there's not that many shows like it. And Peter Dinklage and Mark Maron thinks they took a risk while making that show. He also said that he thinks House of the Dragon is going to be really good because the person that is running it, Miguel Sapochnik, he didn't mention his name in particular, but Miguel Sapochnik is the person he's referring to. He thinks it's going to be really fucking good because he's involved. Miguel's involved, and he has worked with him, so he knows it's going to be good. He's also mentioned before that, this was, I guess, a couple weeks ago now, that Game of Thrones fans wanted to see the pretty white people fly off into the sunset, and it's kind of like that's where, I initially had a response that was a bit inappropriate. But here's the thing. He's got to realize that not every single thing is meant to be commented on. It seems like he's trying to make a bunch of headlines for maybe some films that he's promoting, but he's commenting on a lot of stuff, and it's just like, I don't know. I thought really the whole point of this video was that to say that House of the Dragon isn't a risk, even though the backlash that was received from Game of Thrones Season 8. Like, to say there's no risk to it is just silly, right? So there's like, you know, I don't know, a meter, I guess, that built up where it was like, okay, I got to address some of this shit. So I just thought I would explain it. But I've noticed that he's kind of changed his statement from that podcast that he thinks that people were mad that it went off, which is something that I've been saying this whole time. A lot of the backlash is because everybody's favorite TV show is over, regardless if you like the ending. And if it had gone on for maybe a season or 2 more seasons, people wouldn't have felt like it was rushed. And that large chunk of the audience who felt like it was rushed might be those same people who were mad that the shows went off, right? Like, I realized myself, some of my hate for season 8 was just because my favorite show, my favorite thing of all time is over, as you can see behind me, or the near 720 videos that I've made here on YouTube. But all of that besides the point, I think the most interesting, or I guess the main points that I was trying to make in this video is that I think Peter Dinklage has got projects that he's trying to promote, so he's commenting on everything, right? The initial comment about the white people flying off in the sunset was foolish, wasn't well thought out, and made people seem like he was out of touch. But then I rewatched that motivational video, and I'm like, no, this dude has been through some shit. He's made some really good points before. He's inspired myself the first time I saw that clip. Like, I've never graduated college. I never graduated high school, never went to college or anything like that. It motivates me to want to do that eventually. But I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's silly to say that they're not taking a risk with House of the Dragon, though. That's really, really stupid. They definitely are. The main reason being the backlash from Game of Thrones Season 8. But also the fact that this is a prequel series, doesn't have any of the lovable characters, Tyrion included, in this series. This is 200 years. This is 180 years. 100 and, depending on where they start in season 1 of House of the Dragon, this is such a long time removed from them. It's kind of risky. Like, he just blankly hears dragons, and he's like, oh, this show is going to have way more of what made our show so good, one of the key elements of it. Of course it's going to just, be amazing. They're not taking a risk. No, it's not the case. It's not the case at all. Dragons alone wouldn't necessarily carry a TV show. There's no source material dialogue to interpret and adapt to a new medium. This is a series of point of views that aren't reliable, and we don't even necessarily know really anything if they're telling the truth about their points of views, because some of them weren't even in existence when the events of Dance of the Dragon were happening. The HBO's taking a risk. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, let me know down below by slapping a like on this, or leaving me a comment, or leaving a dislike. My name is Mark, and this is Spencer Hunt's Reviews.